At the heart of Gifts of Life, Ministries is a simple but profound belief that everyone deserves the chance to live with dignity, hope, and faith. Guided by the pastoral leadership of Reverend Dr. Andre E. Johnson, our ministry has been a source of healing, empowerment, and transformation for individuals and communities too often overlooked and left behind. Through preaching, teaching, outreach, and advocacy, Reverend Johnson and this ministry work tirelessly to create what they call an urban oasis. Whether it is providing spiritual care, feeding the hungry, mentoring the next generation, or standing for justice, every effort is rooted in the gospel call to love God and love our neighbors as ourselves. But we cannot do this work alone. The truth is, our vision outpaces our resources. Ministries that change lives require faithful partners like you who believe in this mission and are willing to sow into it. This is where you come in. Your financial support will allow Gifts of Life Ministries to expand community outreach to families in need, support transformative preaching, teaching, and scholarship from Pastor Johnson, provide resources that nurture faith, education, and empowerment, sustain the daily operations that make ongoing ministry possible. Every gift, large or small, is a seed of hope. When you give, you are not only supporting a ministry, you are investing in changed lives, renewed communities, and a future filled with possibility. We invite you prayerfully to consider contributing today. Together, we can continue the vital work of proclaiming life, love, and liberation in places where it's needed most. Thank you for your generosity, your prayers, and your belief in this sacred calling.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. So glad to have everyone here today for this Black History Month symposium. And I am going to get us started this morning. Black Rhetoric and Rights, the making of the colored conventions. In August of 1893, Bishop Henry McNeill Turner, a prominent leader within the African Methodist Episcopal or AME Church, issued a call for a national colored convention. This initiative aimed to mobilize African Americans to thoughtfully consider the option of immigration as a potential solution to widespread oppression and systemic discrimination they encountered in the United States. Acknowledging the harsh realities and social injustices faced by African Americans, Turner urged his audience to reflect on the profound challenges that they faced. Now, he believed that exploring the prospect of immigrating to Africa could open up new avenues for freedom and opportunity, sparking a crucial dialogue with the community about their future. I do not believe that there is any manhood future in this country for the Negro, and that for his future existence, to say nothing of his future happiness. It would depend upon his naturalization. But knowing that tens and tens of thousands see our present condition and our future about as I do, and after waiting for 4 years for some of our colored statements and leaders to call a national convention or to propose some plan of speaking to the nation or to the world or to some project, some measure that will remedy our condition or will even suggest a remedy, and finding no one among the anti-immigrational party or anti-Negro nationalization party disposed to do so, and believing that further silence is not only a disgrace but a crime, I have resolved to issue a call in the near future for a national convention to be held in Cincinnati, where a spacious edifice is at our disposal, to meet sometime in November for the friends of African repatriation or Negro nationalization elsewhere, to assemble and adopt such measures for our actions as may commend themselves to our better judgment. In response to the call, the Indianapolis Freedman devoted an entire issue of its November 25th, 1893 edition to the convention, titled The Turner Convention Symposium. The Freedman invited notable figures to comment on Bishop Turner's call for a convention. One notable figure, Frederick Douglass, thought that the convention would do some good. Quote, "The platform of such a convention," he wrote, "is the place for presenting to our country and to the world the great injustice and terrible wrongs to which we are subjugated as a class." However, he also offered a warning to those who would attend. Do not believe in any wholesale plan of colonization to Africa. AME Bishop Benjamin F. Lee had no confidence in Bishop Turner's convention at all. As for the expected call for immigration, Bishop Lee noted that it was not settled that Africa can improve the condition of the black man in the United States, nor that the said black man can improve Africa. Further, he wrote about Turner, the prime mover of the call speaks of the United States as Hades and Africa as Eden. Yet even he holds his residence in Hades, only paying Eden a brief visit once a year. When he shall set out his Hadean holdings and transport his portables to Africa, the people may believe that it's necessary to meet him in convention to talk about going to Africa. Now, I share the Freedman Symposium about the 1893 National Colored Convention because it provides valuable insights into the discussions, arguments, and dialogues that likely transpired during the four-day event, especially given the absence of the official proceedings. It is crucial to understand that these conventions were far, far more than just gatherings. They served a purposeful, deliberate space where Black individuals took ownership of their voices and engaged in meaningful discourse. During these conventions, participants not only shared their personal narratives and experiences, but also collectively affirmed their humanity in a society that constantly and consistently sought to marginalize them. This platform allowed them to challenge systemic injustices and confront racial discrimination directly. Furthermore, these gatherings fostered a profound sense of community among attendees, promoting solidarity and collaboration in the fight for civil rights. In essence, the colored conventions represented a critical juncture for Black activism, where individuals came together to advocate for their rights, celebrate their identities, and strategize for a future where they could fully claim their place as equal members of society, despite the pervasive obstacles placed in their way. Take, for instance, the very first convention held at Bethel AME Church in Philadelphia, 1830. The convention movement was born out of the atrocity that happened a year earlier in Cincinnati. For 3 horrific days, white mobs terrorized black communities, forcing many of them to leave the city. As Gabrielle Foreman notes, in need of a place of refuge and obliged to leave their homes, more than 1,000 of Cincinnati black residents became forced migrants in Canada after being dragged through the streets of the city, then known as, quote, the Queen of the West. As the outrage continued, black leaders gathered in Philadelphia to protest and plan. Meeting openly from September 20th through the 24th in 1830, some 40 delegates representing 7 states met with a firm and settled conviction grounded in their understanding of the inestimable and invaluable instrument, namely the Declaration of Independence, that their forlorn and deplorable situation earnestly and loudly demands of us to devise and pursue all legal means for the speedy elevation of ourselves and brethren to the scale and standing of men. The color conventions were organized by visionaries and courageous leaders within the black community, such as Turner and others who possessed a profound awareness of their worth and potential. These leaders not only convened to discuss issues of the day, but also aimed to forge a collective identity and advocate for rights and recognition in a society rife with racial injustice. The dialogues and expressions that emerged from these conventions contributed to the formation of a unique rhetorical tradition, one that rigorously interrogated the concepts of democracy and freedom and justice. These ideals were not treated as abstract ideals to be admired, but rather understood as tangible and often contested realities that demanded active engagement and reform. Rooted deeply in faith and spirituality, the colored conventions were informed by a rich tradition of religious conviction that underscored the movement's moral imperative to challenge systemic oppression. This spiritual foundation provided not only a source of strength and resilience, but also framework for critiquing the theological narratives that justified racism and social hierarchies. Participants often grappled with the prevailing ideology that portrayed God as an ally of the oppressor and sought to reframe these beliefs by emphasizing a divine commitment to justice, liberation, and inherent dignity of all people. The conventions promoted a prophetic rhetoric that courageously spoke truth to power, illuminating the harsh realities of injustice faced by the black community. This rhetoric was not merely a call to awareness, but a clarion call to action, advocating collective liberation achievable only through engaged communal deliberation and a commitment to moral clarity. By fostering dialogue among delegates, these conventions became incubators for ideas and strategies to dismantle systems of oppression and empower individuals to pursue justice and equality. The rhetorical richness displayed in their speeches illustrated not only their oratorical skills, but also their ability to engage deeply with the pressing issues of the time. While the atmosphere was predominantly collaborative and goal-oriented, moments of personal rivalry and minor disagreements occasionally surfaced, revealing the participants' humanity and the complexities of their relationships. Nonetheless, such conflicts never overshadowed the seriousness of their collective mission or diminished their profound dedication to achieving freedom and equality for their communities. Their unwavering commitment to this cause remains a significant testament to their legacy and to the enduring struggle for civil rights. An examination of the colored conventions reveals several additional areas that merit further exploration and consideration. One especially noteworthy observation is the striking predominance of male voices in the official discussions and formal proceedings of these gatherings. Yes, while men often took center stage, recent scholarly research has begun to illuminate the vital, frequently overlooked contributions of women to this significant historical moment. For instance, scholars underscore the indispensable roles of women and how the roles that they played at every stage of the convention movement, revealing how their efforts were crucial in shaping its objectives and impact. Through a careful analysis, these scholars illustrate the diverse strategies women employed, from organizing and mobilizing communities to advocating for social justice and equality. Women were not just merely supporters, but pivotal leaders and innovators whose efforts were fundamental to shaping the movement's trajectory and legacy. In doing so, it foregrounds the importance of acknowledging and celebrating the multifaceted contributions of women whose voices have often been marginalized in historical accounts. An examination of the colored conventions reveals the richness of debates and disagreements within Black communities, highlighting the complexity and diversity of thought that characterize these gatherings. Within the sessions, delegates often found themselves at odds over several key issues that reflected the broader struggles faced by African Americans. For instance, some delegates passionately argued for immigration as a viable solution to the systemic injustices they were facing in the United States. They believed that seeking opportunities abroad could provide a fresh start and a more equitable future. In contrast, others firmly advocated integration, insisting that the focus should be on advancing civil rights and equality within American society. Additionally, the rhetoric employed during these conventions varied significantly as well. While some speakers favored conciliatory diplomatic approach to fostering understanding and cooperation with broader society, others took a more militant position, calling for direct action and a more aggressive push for rights and recognition. This divergence in tone not only reflected individual convictions, but also showcased the broader ideological spectrum within the Black community. To fully appreciate the significance of the colored conventions, it is essential to recognize the pivotal role that print culture played in their influence and dissemination. Editors of Black-owned and operated newspapers were instrumental in amplifying the ideas generated at these conventions, extending their reach far beyond the physical attendance of the events. These newspapers serve as vital platforms for communication and advocacy, publishing not only reports and summaries, but also detailed minutes of the conventions. This ensured that messages and discussions held within the conventions reach a much broader audience. By documenting the proceedings in print, these publications allowed Black individuals, whether literate or not, to engage with the significant issues affecting their communities. Those who could not read could still access the information through oral traditions, as the insights shared in these newspapers often sparked discussions in homes and churches and community gatherings. The interconnectedness fostered a sense of shared understanding and purpose among African Americans. Finally, conventional oratory serves as a crucial element in the Black rhetorical tradition, particularly in its relationship to democracy and politics. It embodies a vital principle, the ability to navigate and maintain the delicate balance between the tangible realities of life the aspirational ideas that society strives for. In his foundational book, Negro Orators and Their Orations, Carter G. Woodson challenges prevailing notions of oratory and critiques the concept of a real orator. According to his perspective, the real orator does not confine themselves to the rigid structures and conventions of rhetorical theory. Instead, they prioritize engaging their audience in a meaningful dialogue, one that confronts and stimulates thought around the ongoing struggle between the real and the ideal. The oration itself emerges from this dynamic tension, where the orator skillfully embodies both the harsh truths of current circumstances and the lofty goals of social justice and equality. The aim is for both the orator and the audience to critically unpack these concepts, fostering a more profound understanding that can inspire collective action. By doing so, they aspire to align societal realities more closely with their aspirational ideas, creating a harmonious future grounded in the hope of what could be. Woodson builds on what we see expressed in the hundred of addresses that emerges from the conventions. He emphasized that compelling oratory is not solely the domain of individuals holding high governmental positions or prominent societal roles. Instead, he believed that the most compelling speeches come from those deeply motivated to bring about change in the prevailing social order. For Woodson, true oratory is born from authentic experiences of suffering, whether one has personally endured hardship or has witnessed the pain and suffering of others. This connection to human struggle fuels a passion to articulate those injustices. Woodson's concept of oratory, quote, springing up from the breast of patriots, suggests an inner drive or compulsion to speak out, stemming from a profound sense of duty. Conventional rules and regulations do not bind this type of oratory. Instead, it emerges from a place of deep conviction and moral obligation, becomes a vehicle for expressing and a yearning to rectify societal wrongs and to strive for balance and harmony among all individuals. Simply put, the color conventions were the first public-facing, ongoing, Black-led, organized gatherings of African Americans to discuss issues and problems facing Black people in America. They showed a collective commitment to systemic change and highlighted the power of Black agency at a time when such efforts were often met with significant resistance. They were groundbreaking gatherings that resulted in the first organized Black-led social movement. African Americans managed every aspect of the conventions from beginning to end. They issued the calls, secured the locations, planned all the events, selected the delegates, advertised and promoted the conventions in newspapers, created the structure, provided the lodging for delegates and attendees, reported on the conventions in their newspapers, wrote the rules and the minutes of the conventions, and much, much more. While it is important to note that some white individuals participated by attending and speaking at certain conventions, the leadership remained firmly in Black hands. The rhetoric, the ideas, the goals exchanged during these gatherings were driven by the perspectives and experiences of Black people, underscoring the profound significance of these conventions as a platform for Black empowerment and social change. The color conventions were a movement that still bears witness today. A movement led and operated by Black folk who dared to believe that they mattered. A movement that established Black oratorical tradition, that re-examined the meaning of democracy, freedom, citizenship, and justice. A movement that became the intellectual hub for activists and a point of ongoing state and national collaboration, a movement grounded in a faith that did not fully accept the tenets of what would become a theology rooted in a notion of a racist God, A movement that spoke truth to proverbial powers, yet had time to speak some truth to each other as well. A movement that discerned the sign of the times and spoke directly into it without any shame. A movement where people argued and debated, where they were performative and sometimes petty, but also persistent and profound. A movement that reminds us all, as Charles Langston said in 1866, we must be a constant trouble in the state until it extends to us equal and exact justice. Thank you.
At the heart of Gifts of Life, Ministries is a simple but profound belief that everyone deserves the chance to live with dignity, hope, and faith. Guided by the pastoral leadership of Reverend Dr. Andre E. Johnson, our ministry has been a source of healing, empowerment, and transformation for individuals and communities too often overlooked and left behind. Through preaching, teaching, outreach, and advocacy, Reverend Johnson and this ministry work tirelessly to create what they call an urban oasis. Whether it is providing spiritual care, feeding the hungry, mentoring the next generation, or standing for justice, every effort is rooted in the gospel call to love God and love our neighbors as ourselves. But we cannot do this work alone. The truth is, our vision outpaces our resources. Ministries that change lives require faithful partners like you, who believe in this mission and are willing to sow into it. This is where you come in. Your financial support will allow Gifts of Life Ministries to expand community outreach to families in need, support transformative preaching, teaching, and scholarship from Pastor Johnson, provide resources that nurture faith, education, and empowerment, sustain the daily operations that make ongoing ministry possible. Every gift, large or small, is a seed of hope. When you give, you are not only supporting a ministry, you are investing in changed lives, renewed communities, and a future filled with possibility. We invite you prayerfully to consider contributing today. Together, we can continue the vital work of proclaiming life, love, and liberation in places where it's needed most. Thank you for your generosity, your prayers, and your belief in this sacred calling.